You know how they say Ladakh is breathtakingly beautiful? I didn't know it would literally take my breath away. I had seen it on a bullet, in a tempo traveler, on a wheelchair, and even in an ambulance. Hi, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video. Your girl is back, safe, sound, alhamdulillah, back in the Sara Squad studios. Thank you for being so patient with me. This is the first time ever in 2 years that I've missed literally three uploads on YouTube back to back. Never have I ever done that, and that was killing me from the inside, but I really needed to take this break to recover. I did try to film this video one more time as soon as I came back, but I felt like I was not being completely transparent. I was not saying everything that needed to be said and things that actually y'all should be knowing about my story time of how my Ladakh trip, which was supposed to be a 9-day adventurous trip, was quite adventurous because it took me right from the resort to the ICU in 3 days' time. So this is a story time of what exactly happened in Ladakh, everything that went down in the next 3 days, 72 hours that I was in the ICU. Before I dive into this video, I think certain things need to be made very clear. Number one being that I went to Ladakh completely healthy. I have never contracted COVID, neither did I get COVID after going there. That is not the reason that I was on oxygen cylinders. I have received both doses of my Covishield right back in March itself because I'm a healthcare worker. I also did not have a pulmonary condition ever in my life, and nor do I have it in my genetic line. Plus, I lead a really healthy life. Like if you see my Hustle with Sar vlogs and videos, you would know that I work out very regularly. So I have a good enough stamina to do what I have to do on a daily life. My lungs were completely healthy before I went to Ladakh. Second thing I want to make super clear is my intention to make this video is not to gain sympathy. That is not what I'm looking for. If you're capable of feeling empathy, of putting yourself in my shoes and experiencing this journey with me, of experiencing what the next 3 days in Ladakh brought, then that would be great. But more than anything, I feel like this video is the much needed justification for my Sara Squad who's been there for me. Your messages, your love, your prayers reached there in Ladakh when I had no network whatsoever. It kept me going in the ICU. You all pulled me through and brought me back. That energy, that positive energy I could feel virtually through so many of your comments and your messages was everything to me, and I feel like you'll deserve to know this. Also, if you're new here, you've never been here, and you're simply here to know what exactly happened to this girl, then maybe also this could be a learning lesson to not repeat the same mistakes that I did or that happened with me in Ladakh, so that your trip to any other high altitude destination might be much more smoother. Because what happened with me was unfortunate, but it is not uncommon. It happens quite a lot at high altitude, and what happened was not purely altitude sickness. Now, I think with all of this kept in mind, we can dive straight into today's story time. Go grab your chai, coffee, whatever nashta you want, because this is going to be one hell of a gripping story time. Let's get started. All right, then where do I begin? Okay, let's get started with the fact that my Ladakh trip was super spontaneous. Okay, I honestly did not do any research. I know it was a high altitude place, and I know that breathing difficulty hota hai, which is why I did not go with my family, because my mom has a cardiac condition, my dad is a smoker. It would be risky to travel with them, which is why I had decided to travel alone. And I thought going solo on this trip would be risky because you know what do I know? So I decided to go with a travelers group, and I found this page called Mad Ventures on Instagram. One of my friends actually recommended this to me, and I was like, chalo jate. She had never traveled with them, but she found them on Instagram, and I was like, you know what, let's go with this travelers group. I could make friends over here, I could travel with them. That is how I joined this group. I did ask the person in charge, that is Madhura, that in case of any health emergencies, are you all prepared? Do you have? How many times have you been to Ladakh? All of that research about the tour, I did. But I didn't research about the place. So she had traveled 7 times before. She takes groups of 15 multiple times to Ladakh. So many people have traveled with her. And she told me she had oxygen on board if it was needed. So I was like, okay, you know, thoda bahut oxygen lagta hai if you have breathing difficulty. This girl is well set and she knows what she's doing. So I went ahead and booked myself with them. Now my gods were with me right from the beginning because I was going to make this trip solo with this group wherein I know no one. But last minute my best friend Roshni decided to come as well. She also just wanted to could get out. We were just fresh graduates. सिर्फ pandemic की बात नहीं थी, हम इतने साल से med school में पढ़ के पक चुके थे, and we wanted that post graduation vacation. And so she also decided very impulsively to come with me. That must have been the most spontaneous decision of Roshni's life ever. So that happened, and after that you all must have seen the vlogs. If you haven't, I will link the vlogs for you on top, so you can make sure to watch it to know exactly what every day was like. But just to give you a gist, there was no acclimatization in our itinerary whatsoever. Like day one itself, we took Dimox, which helps with altitude sickness. So that tablet would just help us feel better, and we started exploring the city within 2 hours of landing in Leh. There was no day to just simply rest and get used to the place in the itinerary. Everyone in my comment section on day one's vlog also told me the same thing, that what is this? Why are you already exploring the city? You are supposed to rest on the day one. You're not supposed to do anything, get used to the altitude. So that did not happen in the first place itself. But the next day was much simpler. I don't think anybody was having any difficulty. We were all fine. We explored the city much in depth. But the third day was the real catch, because that day was super hectic, and to be very honest, super risky as well. When I told this itinerary to one of my friends who does a lot of traveling, he was like, this third day was like a planned murder, because it was intense. Okay, if you've seen the third day's vlog, we start our trip right from Leh city, going all the way to Khardungla, which is one of the world's highest motorable roads. It's 18,000 feet, so it's very high altitude. When we were climbing up to Khardungla only in our tempo traveler, we all started feeling slightly breathless. That is when we started smelling camphor to like ease out our breathing. People who had motion sickness were already throwing up as well, because Ladakh roads are not forgiving in any sense. And when we reached Khardungla, Madhura told us that you should not be staying here more than 20 minutes. So 20 minutes and we are back in the tempo traveler, because then you get acclimatized to that very high altitude, and then when you start descending, that's when the trouble starts happening. So we were exactly there for 20 minutes, no more, no less. So at Khardungla, there was this snow-capped mountain situation where everyone was going and taking photos, and I tried to go there. I took one step, but I was so breathless that I was like, no, nothing doing. Our day is going to be super adventurous. So I came back down and I sat like at this edge of the mountain, and I was just enjoying the view. It was so beautiful, so peaceful. I sat alone and it was very calming, and I was completely fine. We sat in the tempo traveler. We started descending down. So now on the same day, we are descending from Khardungla. We are going to cross Leh and go to Nubra Valley. So we've gone to one of the world's highest altitudes, and same day we are going niche than the altitude we were already used to. So we have traveled a very vast altitude. This is where the major fuck up starts to happen, because when we are descending, that is when I get a little more breathless. So we stop at this North Pulu checkpost in between. Like it was like 20 minutes down from Khardungla, and everybody wanted to refresh themselves, use the loo and chai, coffee वगैरह. मुझे बिल्कुल energy नहीं लग रहा था कुछ भी करने के लिए. I remember there was this beautiful stream and I wanted to take photos against it. And only because of that stream, I got out of the tempo traveler, and slowly, one step leke I somehow reached the stream. It was starting to get very cold as well. Like Khardungla, because there was a little bit of snow and all, it was thoda thanda. So I had like layered up and stuff, and slowly at my pace, I went to the stream, took photos. There were 4 stairs to go down to the stream. So when I was coming up, I was really breathless, and Madhura noticed that, so she got the oximeter and checked my oxygen. But the oximeter would not read my oxygen because I had nail polish on. Now, this is something you all pointed out so much in the vlog, that how can you not think of this? You're a healthcare professional. But let me tell you, in that minute where we are tired, we are getting fatigued and breathless, and oxygen is barely reaching my peripheries, let alone my brain to think. Even Roshni could not think of this because she's also a healthcare professional. मेरा नहीं तो उसका दिमाग चलना चाहिए था. But सभी लोगों की हालत like down होती जा रही थी. तो दिमाग नहीं चला कि nail polish की वजह से reading नहीं हो रहा है. And just because I was discomforted and breathless, to take a precautionary measure, Madhura was like, we'll connect you to oxygen irrespective. So then in the tempo traveler, we put oxygen for roughly around 15-20 minutes. And oh my god, that changed everything. Like Sara before oxygen and Sara after oxygen were 2 different Saras. Like I was not even willing to take the oxygen. I was like, no, I'm fine. I didn't want to spoil the trip, I didn't want to make a scene. But I'm so glad that she gave me the oxygen, because that made me feel so much better for the day ahead. After that, there was river rafting, and I did river rafting in full josh. Like I have taken the raft and been one of those people who was actually rafting, not just sitting in the raft. The hyperactive Sara was back Ladakh, and there's this activity that you can do during river rafting, and that is body swimming or something. Basically, you can jump in the water. And now this is something I already knew through social media, that you can jump in the water during river rafting, and I had made up my mind that yes, I will pakka do this because I've done river rafting before. So when the rafter asked us who wants to jump in the water, I was the first one. I was like, yes, I want to go. And without giving it a second thought, I just jumped into the water, ice cold water. I'm telling you, I have no regrets, okay? That felt amazing. Like that ice cold water on my body with the sun shining. It felt like these are the moments we live for, right? So it was amazing. And Jayati jumped as well. And then I forced Roshni. So Roshni also jumped as well. And it was really, really nice. The whole experience was great. We came back up, we dried ourselves, ate lunch. This was around roughly 3:30. I won't say that me jumping in the water is the reason that I fell sick, but it was definitely a contributing factor to something that will come later and I will tell you as we go. But after that also, our day did not end. There was ATV riding that we did after that. There was also Diskit Monastery, जिसके सीढ़ियाँ चलते चलते तो हम मतलब एकदम बैटरी डाउन हो गई थी. उसमें भी there were some enthu people who had the energy to go to another monastery, but there was a group of us that just sat relaxed because we were done. After that, there was also sand dunes, and we walked at that altitude in sand. So by the time we reached our guest house in Nubra Valley at around roughly 9:30 p.m., everyone was dead tired, okay? We were all exhausted. We all retired to our rooms. I took a bath, we ate dinner, and I ended the vlog, and that is where the actual drama started. So I ended my third day's vlog at around 11:30 after eating dinner, and when I was eating dinner itself, my throat had started to hurt. So because my throat was hurting, I only ate warm foods and I kept it really light, and I went to sleep. And when I was sleeping, I told Roshni, just check if I have fever. So I was developing a little bit of temperature, which I thought was simply out of exertion and exhaustion. You know, जब बहुत काम कर लो तभी ऐसे बुखार जैसा लगता है. तो I told her एक और extra blanket डाल दे, उसमें सो जाते हैं. Nubra Valley was slightly colder than Leh city, so then I slept with 2 blankets. So I slept at around 11:30 p.m. and at around 1 to 2 a.m. in my sleep, I felt like somebody was sitting on my chest and talking to me. You know, I was feeling so suffocated in my sleep. And this is one of the symptoms of what happened to me, that you feel like you are being drowned. So that is exactly how I was feeling. I was feeling like somebody's holding me against my will, and I'm like in my sleep, what am I supposed to do? मैं क्या करूँ कि I can feel better? तो मतलब मैं, you know, नींद में अपने से कुछ तो हटा रही हूँ, and वो एक कंबल था मैंने हटाई, फिर सोने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ, and I started developing cough. Like after dinner only I started developing cough. So because my throat was hurting, I was coughing a little bit, I took strepsils and Dolo and I went to sleep. But this 2 a.m. discomfort that I felt, I suddenly got up, I threw my blankets, I coughed and I was about to puke. So I ran to the bathroom and I puked everything that I ate, right from lunch to dinner. Everything came out of my system, because the way I was coughing, it was not dry, superficial cough. It was like heaving cough. Like it was coming under, so I was retching everything out. And I would continue to cough, and when I could not puke any further, I started puking blood. There was very evident, like big blood clots present, and that scared me. So that time I was like, Roshni, get up. You wake Madhura up, and we don't even know which room she is because this is a new guest house. So everyone just passed out so tired that nobody cared to know kaun se room mein kaun hai. But somehow Roshni found her room, woke her up, and also woke Jayati, which was another friend we made in the group. She was from Delhi, so Jayati also got up and she got me an apple and pandy, because in case it was acidity, which I thought it was acidity, because मैंने 2 बजे खाना खाया था और फिर सीधा रात को 9 बजे खाना खाया था, तो बीच में I didn't eat anything. So maybe it was the acidity that made me throw up, you know. But after throwing up, I was feeling so weak and I was constantly coughing. Now once all these girls came in, we checked my oxygen. My oxygen was at 70. This was low, and that is the reason I was not able to breathe. So my first instinct after seeing that 70 was like, Madhura, go get the oxygen cylinder, you know, bring the oxygen cylinder from the car. So she made the oxygen cylinder come, and I was connected on oxygen. And mind you, I am completely drained. Like my decision making power is completely drained out of me. I've thrown up, I'm tired, we have not slept at all, and I just didn't know what to think or what to do. Plus, I'm not in a power. This is not my city. I don't have anyone I know over here. So that was also very bothersome, where you are not in control of making any decisions or choices for yourself. So that was a very helpless feeling I was feeling, and all I could think of, okay, I need to breathe better. So I took the oxygen. Jayati did suggest that we should take her to the hospital right now, but Madhura was like, no, hospitals are open, only army hospital, that is for emergencies. And I mean, this was an emergency. You should have taken me to the hospital right now. This time, if you would have taken me to the hospital at 2 a.m. when my oxygen saturation was at 70, the situation would have been handled much better. But that was not done. I was kept on oxygen for 30 minutes. I told these people go back to sleep because सबको अगले दिन जाना था. And अभी तक मैं भी ऐसा सोच रही हूँ कि मुझे भी अगले दिन जाना है इन सबके साथ टूर पे. रोशनी kept me on oxygen for 30 minutes, disconnected. She went back to sleep. After I got the oxygen, I was feeling slightly better. I also wanted to sleep. So I was like, how do I sleep? Because if I'm lying down, I'm coughing like anything. Like I was sleeping like this. I would keep my hand and I was sitting down because in sitting position, I was not getting any cough. And suddenly मेरा चमका कि bro, you're having breathing difficulty, you're coughing on lying down, you need to prop yourself up. So if a person has pulmonary condition or your lungs are compromised, you have discomfort when you're breathing, when you're in supine position. So all the patients who have pulmonary lung problems, we make sure that they are propped up and sleeping like this in the hospital and not like this. So you're at an incline, so you're able to breathe better. This discomfort during breathing is called orthopnea, which you have in lying down position. So whatever extra blankets and pillows were there, I took all of that and I propped myself up. After propping up, I could sleep for roughly 2 more hours and I got thoda sa rest, and 5 baje वापस बहुत खांसी आने लगी and I felt like vomiting. I went to the washroom and vomited a lot more, and after puking everything, when I looked up in the mirror, my lips were blue, my skin was white, dried up like किसी ने जान निकाल दी हो. My eyes were pale, my fingers were turning grayish blue, my toes were tingling, my oxygen was not reaching the peripheries of my body. And in that minute, I kid you not, I saw death. Like I was so sure I am dying here. Like that, मैंने मौत देख ली थी. I was so scared. Where oxygen is not reaching my peripheries, I'm turning cyanotic. I am not able to understand what is happening to me. And for the life of me, I cannot diagnose myself. I was feeling super helpless. And the one thing जो मुझे चमका is like doctor. I need a doctor. So I messaged Anuj first thing, which is my friend. He's an MD. I've done the COVID vaccination video with him, and I listed out my entire day, all my experiences, all my symptoms. And I was like, what the hell is happening to me? You have to tell me. And I also messaged the same exact thing to another physician, which is my family physician, Dr. Madhvi Kelkar. So both of these doctors I've messaged at 5 a.m. 5 बजे से 7 बजे मैंने कैसे काटा है, even I don't know. मैं खाली बैठी थी, ऐसी ही बैठी थी. And 7 a.m. I get messages, replies from both the doctors, and both the doctors have said exactly the same thing. Both are like, you have high altitude pulmonary edema, you need hospitalization and continuous supply of oxygen. When I saw that, I was like, bro, this is the shit. This is scary. I need hospitalization. Roshni, उठ, अभी क्या भी उठ, अभी क्या भी मधुरा को उठा. अभी तक I was not waking anyone despite like seeing death in the mirror, because I was like, किसी का trip नहीं खराब करना है, आगे के दिन भी उनके पास है और उनको भी travel करना है, तो everyone needs rest. But when I saw that, I was like, you know, you wake her right now. So Roshni woke up and she went and woke Madhura. I don't know what was taking so long. I was only telling Roshni कि उसको बोल जल्दी कर, like वो अपना own sweet टाइम नहीं ले सकती है, मुझे सांस लेने नहीं हो रहा है. In this minute, I get oximeter from somewhere and I check the oxygen saturation and it is at 60, you guys. 60. This is where my oxygen had reached. If you know for a fact, in COVID, if the oxygen saturations were dropping below 90, we were hospitalizing the patients. I was at 60. I had reached my benchmark. If right now I wouldn't have gotten help, I would have most probably died in this place. And I was so scared looking at that 60. मुझे ना रोना भी नहीं आ रहा था. Like सिर्फ one thought was in my mind. I don't know if I held Roshni or Madhura, and I was like, I don't want to die in Ladakh. I don't want to die in Ladakh. Like I'm not able to breathe also, and I was like, I don't want to die in Ladakh. Like I cannot die in Ladakh. In my head, I was like, how is this happening to me? You know, like why am I here? And somehow Madhura got up and everybody left in their night suits. So Roshni, Madhura, and I, we went to the nearest army hospital. Stanzin, the driver of the tempo traveler, drove us. And we went, like, it was like 5-10 minutes away from the guest house. And I remember we're leaving from there also. There was one of these chicks in the group and she was like, Arey, don't worry. Even our oxygen will be that much. We are not checking our oximeter. I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Like, I did not have the energy to like back answer and argue with her. But you're telling me that 60 is normal. Like, tumko... I was so irritated in my head, but I was like, you know what, I don't have the energy to deal with some numbnuts right now. Just take me to the freaking hospital. So we went to the hospital, we went to the emerge section, and they immediately put me on oxygen supply. And all the nursing assistants, which are all army people because this was an army hospital, were around me. I was feeling more calm, more in control. I was like, okay, ठीक है, अब I've gotten the help that I need. So I told Madhura, ठीक है, you go and like, continue with the tour group. Of course, Roshni had to stay with me because somebody had to stay with me. So that day they were exploring Nubra Valley, जो Roshni और मेरा दोनों का miss हो गया. At the time when I got admitted to the emergency, there were no doctors present, only nursing assistants were there. But of course, they're trained to handle something like this because this happens very often in high altitude places. So they were like, we are giving you oxygen, and I was like, can you please put saline on me because I've thrown up so much. I want the electrolytes, but they don't do anything without the RMO. Of course, they need the doctor on board to like, give the suggestions for all of this. So when the RMO on board came at around 12:30 that day, he was late. So he took my history and everything. I told him everything and he was like, look, you cannot travel any further. That is for sure, because next destination we were supposed to go to Pangong and then Kargil and Srinagar, and our itinerary was jam-packed. So he was like, iske baad if you go to Pangong, there is no guarantee that you will reach Mumbai also alive. So if you actually go back to Mumbai now, you can come back and visit Pangong. And when he said that, I was like, bas, mujhe nahi jana, mujhe kahin nahi jana. I just want to get all right. I want to go back home. I want to go back to Bombay. Of course, I felt sad, but in that minute, there were no emotions coming into me. It was just practical thoughts altogether. I want to get all right. I had a very strong fight or flight instinct, that survival instinct in a person that was very strong in me at that time, and all I wanted to do was survive, and I did not want to die. So he told that we will keep you for 4 hours on oxygen. I told him, please put saline on me because I've thrown up and everything. Give me like an anti-emetic. So they gave me that. Now those are not symptoms of high altitude pulmonary edema. That was honestly just acidity that was happening. So uske liye jo dawai deni thi wo bhi maine maang li, so they gave me all of that through the IV. Now these people at the hospital had not diagnosed me as high altitude pulmonary edema, which is HAPO abhi tak. They were just treating it as altitude sickness. So they gave me oxygen for 4 hours. The plan of action was that post oxygen we will check the saturation. If it's better, you can discharge, you can go back to Bombay. But if it's not better, then we might have to admit you. So after 4 hours, my oxygen did not improve by a single point. It was at 60. If you would remove it, would directly drop to 60. And with external support at very high concentrations, my oxygen was being able to maintain at 95 or something. My blood pressure was also very high when I was admitted. So with all of that in mind, we did a chest x-ray 4 hours later. When we did the chest x-ray, it was diagnosed. It was there and then, very, very clear. My lungs were fucked for real, and my right lung had so much edema present. This is reversible damage, but it is very evident damage. It's going to take me a while to recover. And seeing that, I was like, bro, forget Pangong. मैं मुंबई जाके भी ठीक होने नहीं वाली हूँ. Like ये X-ray देख के मैं समझ गई थी. And after that, they admitted me to the acute ward, continued the oxygen support. We did an ECG and we ran blood tests. When we ran blood tests, my TLC count was also high. That means there was slight amount of infection also present. So I had developed mild pneumonia as well. I remember when I said the river rafting was not a cause for the altitude pulmonary edema that I developed, but it was a cause for this mild infection that I developed in my lungs. So my lungs were very compromised at that point. They gave me antibiotics. The pneumonia was not a big issue. 5 दिन के antibiotics में मेरा बुखार और वो सब तो चला ही गया था. Now this army hospital is completely Indian army. There are only male members. There are no female attendants whatsoever. But they were all so kind to me. So kind. They all treated me like their family, you guys. My respect and love for Indian army has grown 10,000 fold because they were so kind, not only in the healthcare department, which was anyways their responsibility, but also being very protective of me. Like they were treating me like, जैसे मैं कोई कांच की डॉल हूँ कि हाथ लगाऊंगी तो टूट जाएगी. इतना protectively, इतना अच्छे से मुझे treat कर रहे थे. Additionally, they were also giving me Wi-Fi hotspot from their phone so that I could connect to my family, because both Roshni and I had Vodafone SIM cards, and Vodafone is zilch in Ladakh. Like there is not even one bar of network where कहीं पे लेके जाओगे. जैसे तुम ले में लैंड होते हो, Vodafone is zilch. So you can take an Airtel postpaid or a BSNL and go to Ladakh. That is the one tip I'll give you, because God forbid anything happens, max you have to do is contact back to home, जो हम कर ही नहीं पा रहे थे. And you can just imagine the हालत of my parents over here. Like my dad ने तो बोरिया बिस्तर बांध के, he was ready to come over there, and I was like, no bro, you cannot come here, because firstly I am not even in Lake. कि तुम जहाँ land होगे मैं तुमको उधर ही मिलूंगी. You will have to travel to Nubra Valley. And on the first day you'll travel to Nubra Valley, you're a smoker, my mom's a cardiac patient, both of them would have not survived. So Roshni was the queen over here. She was not just handling me, she was handling my parents, everyone back at home. she did such a good job of staying sane, and that girl has done so much for me. Like, she is the reason I'm alive here today, you guys. I'm indebted to her for life. I'm so grateful that God sent her with me. She was like my angel on the trip, who was needed, because if I had made this solo trip, you cannot even imagine what would have happened. So at around 7 p.m. or something, the doctor came in and he also said the same thing, that you cannot travel any further. So that is the anyways out of the picture. But also for Bombay, he's like, I cannot discharge you tonight. Like, we were really hoping कि आज रात को discharge मिल जाए, कभी तो discharge मिल जाए. Like, they are not giving me hope कि कभी discharge मिलेगा. So he was like, what has happened to you? Takes at least 3 to 5 days of hospitalization and oxygen therapy. And I was like, 3 से 5 दिन तो नहीं bro, I cannot stay here for 3 to 5 days. And I was like, no, not 3 to 5 days. You know, what is the earliest you can do for me? So he's like, we will observe for 24 to 48 hours. If it gets any better, then we can discharge. So every hour was counting over here. And when I tell you, time does not pass in the hospital. And then he made the call to transfer me to the ICU because I was consuming a lot of oxygen. The cylinders in the ward were not sufficing for me, so they shifted me to the ICU for jumbo cylinders. And then पूरी रात मैंने ICU में काटी. रोशनी मेरे साथ थी. अभी अगले दिन these people are all going to Pangong, and I really wanted Roshni to go to Pangong. मेरा ट्रिप तो वैसे भी बिगड़ रहा था. I really wanted her to see it because it's one of the most beautiful places. It's the reason I wanted to go to Ladakh, was to see Pangong. And I was like, मैं कल को वापस आ जाऊंगी. You have to see, you know, you have also paid money. You deserve to go to Pangong. I did not want to put her in this emotional dilemma. So I was like, you're going. I will stay alone if that's what it takes. Because anyways, मुझे ऐसा कुछ problem नहीं है. मैं खाना खा सकती हूँ खुद से mask निकाल के. I can stay all by myself. I will handle it. I convinced myself and Roshni on 27th कि 28th को मैं अकेली रहने वाली हूँ. But 27th की रात को the nursing assistants tell us that this is not possible. This is an army hospital. A female is not admitted over here alone. You need another female attendant with you. Now what do we do? So 27th की रात को एक बार ये पता चला, तो Roshni went back to the guest house to speak to Madhura, see if any female can be arranged. And when Roshni would go, Jayati would come back and stay here with me. Somehow हमने पूरी रात काट ली ICU में. Next day morning, Roshni went back to the guest house to, you know, freshen up and start her day, because I wanted her to leave for Pangong. So before Roshni would go to the guest house, Jayati came to switch positions with her, and Jayati told Roshni that no female has been found, no contacts are able to find anybody to stay here with me. So the decision has been made by the group and Madhura that Roshni is going to stay back here with me, and they are all going to go to Pangong. And when that happened, Roshni started crying. Of course, bro, usko ye emotional dilemma mein dalne nahi tha. She had to choose between her best friend's health and going to a place she actually came here for. Usko rota hua dekh ke I felt very bad, because she did not deserve this. She did not deserve being put in this emotional dilemma. I was feeling guilty that all of this is happening because of me. Abhi tak main shant thi. Maine kisi ko kuch nahi bola tha. I was talking less. I was saving my energy, saving my oxygen. But I got pissed in that minute. I'll tell you why. Because one night before also, when we were in the hospital and not able to make any communication, no SIM cards on us, when we were trying to contact Madhura every now and then, there was no network. She could not answer. She could not do anything for us. Matlab, there was no connect with her at all. Like, everybody back at home is only asking me one thing: what is your tour operator doing for you? What is the tour operator's decision? Because that is the obvious thing, right? She's supposed to make some arrangement for me to go back to Bombay, or just make some arrangement and take some responsibility to make things all right. She comes back at 8 p.m. on 27th August when I'm still not in the ICU, and has made arrangements to airlift me out of this hospital and go back to Leh city. My mind in that minute, looking at her, I was like, why do I have to be airlifted? I don't have a heart attack. I don't have a cerebral edema. I don't have to go right now. Matlab, I need the oxygen. This is unreasonable. और क्या airlift का 7-8 लाख रुपया होता है bro? क्या पैसे हवा में आ रहे? मुझे डालनी नहीं है यार. मेरी जान important है, yes, but इतना पैसा है ही नहीं मेरे पास कि मैं अपने आप को यहाँ से airlift करूँ. और क्यों करूँ? और तूने ये arrangement क्यों किया? You should have arranged for a car to take me from Nubra Valley to Leh, and that is what I needed. And a female attendant is what I needed, because I want Roshni to go on the trip. Those arrangements which were basic were not being done. That happened at night, and once Madhura went back to the guest house to make arrangement for the car, she called me and told me it will be 6,000 to go from Nubra Valley to Leh for the car. And it was just obvious that I am paying for the 6,000 extra transport. I was like, okay, fair enough. How much refund are you giving me from the trip? Because it was a 9-day trip, I paid 25,000. I've only spent 3 days in the trip, so whatever little bit you can refund back to me, so I know I can make my further on financial calculations, because इधर ATM वगैरह भी नहीं, इतना कैश नहीं है मेरे पास, इतना पैसा मेरे पास है नहीं एक्सेस में, तो I have to make my further calculations from now on. So all she was ready to give me back that night on 27th August was 4,000 rupees. That means you're telling me मैंने 3 दिन में जितना खाया, जितना रही, वो 21,000 का वर्थ था. Now let me tell you, we were not staying in some 5 stars fancy hotels. They were guest houses, they were basic, and when we would go out to eat also, it was not that the bills were already paid or these were tied up restaurants where you pay money before and keep, like how these tours and agencies have. She was paying after we would finish eating, like she would pay the bill. So अब तो मैं नहीं खाना खा रही हूँ ना, जितना भी तुमको टेम्पो ट्रैवलर वगैरह का मेरे डिविजन कॉस्ट में से है, लाइक रहने वहने का, वो निकाल के एटलीस्ट आई वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग कि वो मुझे 10-15 हजार रुपया वापस देगी, तो मैं आगे का ट्रिप निकाल सकती हूँ, मेरे हाथ में पैसा आ जाएगा. एंड हर रिस्पॉन्स ऑन दिस वाज लाइक, एटलीस्ट आई एम गिविंग इट बैक टू यू, अदर टूर ऑपरेटर्स वुड नॉट इवन गिव यू मनी बैक, एंड द मैक्स आई कैन स्ट्रेच इज अ लिटिल बिट, बट इट विल नॉट बी मोर देन 4,000. आई वाज लाइक ओके, अभी मैं कहाँ इस पोजीशन में उससे आर्ग्यू करूं. एंड व्हेन शी हैड कम टू मीट मी, शी हैड आल्सो सेड दैट सी टुमारो विल बी गोइंग टू पैंगोंग. वंस वी गो टू पैंगोंग, तो जितने लोगों के सिम कार्ड चल रहे वो भी नहीं चलेंगे, you will not be able to contact us at all. So she is only telling me what is going to happen from her end, that I will not be able to connect with her. So when Roshni started crying on 28th in the morning that she doesn't get to go to Pangong, मेरा पारा चढ़ गया, because I was like, ये बंदी क्या कर रही है, मेरे लिए कुछ नहीं कर पा रही है, मुझे refund नहीं दे रही है, मेरा arrangement नहीं कर रही है, she's not even waiting for the doctor to come and give a verdict, because doctor is supposed to come at 9 a.m. and you're telling me 8:30 we are all leaving to Pangong and we'll not be in earshot of network for you. So if I have to get out of this hospital, how do I freaking do it? I don't have a SIM card, I don't have contacts. तब जब मेरे को गुस्सा आया ना, I'm connected to the oxygen meter, my BP was rising. I called this chick and I was like, listen very carefully, I am your responsibility. What has happened to me is not your fault, but you're supposed to handle it. What could have happened to my body is nobody's fault, but I am your responsibility. You're supposed to take an action. If anything happens to me and I die over here in Ladakh, it is on you. My parents will sue you back in Bombay. And I threatened her and I was like, you have to take responsibility. Come to the hospital. Wait, you will not leave till my doctor comes at 9 a.m. आधा 1 घंटा लेट निकलोगे तो तुम्हारी जान नहीं जाएगी, मेरी जान जाएगी. तो तुम आओ इधर, 1 घंटा रुको, डॉक्टर क्या बोलता है वो देखो, और उस हिसाब से मेरे लिए पहले डिसीजन लो और फिर तुम अपने ट्रिप पे निकलो. तो अभी तक तो मैं कुछ नहीं बोल रही थी, एंड ऑफ कोर्स इतने गुस्से में देख के शी वाज लाइक, हाँ ठीक है, मेरा बीपी उधर शूट अप हो रहा है, ऑक्सीजन रिड्यूस हो रहा है, बट आई वाज लाइक, रोशनी को मैं रोता हुआ नहीं देख सकती, रोशनी पैंगोंग जाएगी मतलब जाएगी, एंड ये बंदी को अभी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेनी है. तो देन मधुरा केम इन एंड अपेरेंटली द होल टूर ग्रुप हैज कम इन, एंड आई डोंट नो मधुरा मेड अप her own mind or what it was, but she decided that she would stay back here with me since no female attendant was being made. And now when that happened, everybody in the tour group got upset because she made that decision after reaching the hospital. She did not inform anyone prior to it. So the driver was there and she was going to send everyone to Pangong with the driver. Now when the tour group came to know this, they of course needed someone to blame, so they put all the blame conveniently on me. All of these people, mind you, are older to us, okay? Roshni and I are the youngest in that group. We are 22-year-olds. All of these are like 26 plus, 30 and all. And one of the oldest women in the group, who was 37, has the audacity to come to me in the ICU, see me in that condition where I'm pale, blue and on oxygen support in the ICU, and sonaws me that I am being selfish for keeping Madhura over here, that they need Madhura more than me, and the full tour group is not ready to go to Pangong without her. I was like, how can you say this? Like, how are you even saying this? I was like, मत जाओ यार, मत जाओ, इधर ही बैठो, आओ जाओ मेरे साथ, मेरे आजू बाजू बैठो और गप्पे लड़ाओ, तुम मत जाओ पैंगोंग, तुमको नहीं जाना है तो मेरे को आगे गिल्ट ट्रिप क्यों कर रही हो? Like, how inhuman can you be to actually think that way and say something to someone who's literally on life support कि you need Madhura more than me right now? Truth be told, dude, पैंगोंग जा रहे थे, लेक था, क्या ही करती मधुरा आके तुमको बोलती ये है लेक, जाओ फोटो लो. मतलब तुम एक दिन नहीं निकाल सकते थे उसके बिना. मैं मर रही हूँ इधर उसके बिना. I needed a female attendant and it was not even like I needed Madhura only. I was ready to stay with an unknown female also who wouldn't have done anything for me. I didn't ask for Madhura. Madhura made the decision to stay here. तो जाके उससे बात करो ना. And apparently in the Tempo Traveler another scene was only happening with amongst the entire group, that one of the chicks had convinced everyone else that I am using my influencer card and gaining sympathy to keep Madhura over here with me. Like, I mean, मुझे क्या मिल रहा है? I can go on this trip and complete this trip with you. For the love of Christ, if this girl would have brought me to the hospital at 2 a.m. when my oxygen saturation was at 70, I would have completed the trip with you all. All the doctors told me, all the nursing assistants told me कि आप रात को ही आ गए होते जब आपको थोड़ा बीमार लग रहा था, तो 4-5 घंटा ऑक्सीजन देते और आप ठीक हो जाते थे, इतना बुरा हाल होता नहीं. You waited till my lungs collapsed and then you're reviving me How is that fine? And how can I not blame a part of this on you, that you have to take responsibility for my health? And okay guys, I'll give you all a scenario. ये मेरे दिमाग में नहीं आया. ये Jayati later told me that even if you're using your influencer card, what is wrong with that? In that minute, in an unknown city, in an ICU of an army hospital where I don't have network, friends or family, if I have to use all the resources and my possibility to get the help I need to stay alive, I would use it. If I had $1 billion freaking dollars, I would use all the $1 billion to airlift myself out of there and go back home. So you use what you have, you use your resources. It's your fight or flight instinct to stay alive. And I was not using my influencer card. I didn't even know what was happening in that, and I don't know if I had posted a story on social media, and that is what made Madhura tick कि ये बंदी influencer है, कल को जाके मेरी company को share करेगी तो मुझे problem होगा. If that is the reason she decided to stay with me, or whatever was her instinct. But not only did she stay with me, she stayed back with me and told me that she would refund full 25,000 back to me. This person who till one raat before was not ready to give me 4,000 back, अब पूरा 25,000 उसको वापस देना है. I was so irritated now listening to that. I was like, listen, don't be unreasonable, be practical. जितना भी अपना प्रॉफिट वॉफिट है और 3 दिन मैंने खाया पिया रहा है उसका तुम काटो और मुझे बाकी का पैसा वापस दो. मुझे सिर्फ हिसाब रखना है आपने. ऐसा नहीं कि मैं पैसे की भूखी हूँ, है अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह से पैसा मेरे पास, मुझे पैसे नहीं चाहिए और मुझे तुम्हारे पैसे तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं चाहिए, बट थोड़ा बहुत राइट नाउ मुझे चाहिए बिकॉज मेरे पास ATM नहीं है और मैं कैसे ही पैसे अपने हाथ में लाऊं कि मुझे आगे का ट्रिप भी निकालना है, वापस घर जाना है और एक और फ्लाइट बुक करनी है बिकॉज माई फ्लाइट वॉज गोइंग टू गो फ्रॉम श्रीनगर टू बॉम्बे बिकॉज आवर लास्ट डेस्टिनेशन वॉज श्रीनगर. I had to go now from Leh to Bombay. In that minute, I don't know what to say as well. When Roshni was leaving, she cried a lot. Like both of us cried a lot because I did not want my best friend to go. I didn't want to stay alone with her. I don't want to cry. I didn't cry at all till Roshni was leaving because I did not want my best friend to go. This is not what I want to do. Okay, I'm so sorry for that. I did not want to cry in this video. But anyway, that day Roshni left on 28th of August, went to Pangong, and I somehow spent the day with Madhura in the ICU. The time would not pass, you guys. Like in the ICU, without Wi-Fi, without network. What to do? कुछ कर नहीं सकते, किसी से बात नहीं कर सकते, कुछ एनर्जी भी नहीं है बात करने के लिए. I would just be staring at the ICU monitor like this and बस दुआ कर रही थी कि बढ़ जाए, प्लीज बढ़ जाए, थोड़ा सा सैचुरेशन बढ़ जाए. बढ़ ही नहीं रहा था. मैं बोल रही हूँ ना, 36 आवर्स तक माई ऑक्सीजन सैचुरेशन वॉज एट 60-65 ओनली. इट वॉज नॉट इवन रीचिंग 70 and 80 without the oxygen support, and I was feeling so disappointed and disheartened कि I was scared, you guys. Internally, I was really scared, but I was not telling anyone. I was just shanti se sitting. Because अगर मैं डरने लगी तो मेरा ध्यान कौन रखेगा? Stanzin, the driver of the tempo traveler, was very kind and he kept his SIM card with me. His SIM cards which had network. So once I had a little bit of network on 28th, I could do some amount of work. I could contact my team back at home, make sure the video was uploaded, which was the haul video you all saw. I made sure that went up. I did thoda bahut work. I know I was in the ICU and on oxygen support, but जहाँ time नहीं बीत रहा था मैं क्या ही करती. And this is the time when your messages were key to me. Your comments and messages, I would just load them and I would get Wi-Fi. और जब Wi-Fi नहीं था मैं बैठ के सबके messages पढ़ रही थी. Every get well soon, every prayer, every love, everything that you all have sent, I could not reply back to everyone because मेरे पास Wi-Fi नहीं था. But I took it, I soaked all the love and I was like, this is why I have to get back home. I have to go back for my family, for my friends, for my Sara squad. I have to survive Ladakh and go back alive. Like that was my survival instinct and you all were my ray of hope. Through social media, I also got a lot of contacts. By putting that one story, it actually helped me in much more ways than you can imagine. So Anish Sheth, who's the owner of Dr. Sheth, reached out and he was like, I have a friend in Leh, I'll contact you to her. So then he gave me her number and I was like, yes, I need female friends over here. So his friend Lagaud contacts, she knew people in Nubra Valley and she was like, an ambulance can be arranged for you. So through her contacts and through Madhura going to the district hospital at Diskit, they arranged an ambulance for me. Now ambulance is something which is SOS. You cannot book an ambulance. When you go there, you'll get it. But there were formalities which had to be done for me to get the ambulance. But that arrangement was made by Madhura. She stayed and she took care of me on the 28th. I'm going to give her that on 28th, once she took responsibility, she took full responsibility of my health and everything. Made sure that the ambulance is there. So one more thing I was very grateful grateful for was Anuj, because he was continuously in contact with me and with the doctors at Leh who were treating me. So when my oxygen saturations were not increasing, he finally convinced the doctors to give me nifedipine, because abhi tak they had not given me any drugs apart from the antibiotics for the pneumonia. So on 28th night they gave me that tablet, and on 29th in the morning I was still in the ICU. When I finally woke up and removed the oxygen cylinder, the saturation was at 80 without any external support, and that just made me breathe a sigh of relief. I was like, okay, there is hope. My lungs are bucking up. They're finally bucking up. So for 48 hours, jitna change nahi tha, wo finally 48th hour pe the saturation improved, and the nursing assistants were like, yes, you can get discharged, but you have to be on oxygen supply continuously. So then we had that one portable cylinder which I had in the Tempo Traveler. So then wo portable cylinder leke we went to the Diskit District Hospital. Over there we had to get the ambulance because Army Hospital would not give us an ambulance. I think I messed up the dates a little bit over here because it was not the 29th that I got discharged, it was the 28th that I got discharged. So you can just shift everything one date back. So though then I was in the hospital, third day in the morning I got discharged. I got into the ambulance, and the flight that I was supposed to take to Bombay from Srinagar initially, according to my trip, I asked one of my friends, Raisa, to reschedule it for me, and she shifted me to a flight which was going out of Srinagar on the same airlines to a flight which will go out of Leh. So now she booked me on 29th in the morning, which was going from Leh to Bombay, and there were no flights without layovers. So this one had the least amount of layover for 40 minutes in Srinagar. That was it. So I was like, okay, this is the best one. We'll go for this. So this was 7 a.m. on 29th that I was initially supposed to fly out. When I sat in the ambulance and I was setting out for Leh, that time Dad and Sabrina both messaged me saying your flight has been cancelled. So मतलब प्रॉब्लम्स खत्म नहीं हो रही थी मेरी, बस बढ़ती ही जा रही थी. When that happened, I was like, shit, now what do I do? So I immediately messaged Raisa. She checked and it was actually cancelled from Srinagar to Bombay. So Leh to Srinagar वो जा रही थी, but Srinagar to Bombay वो flight नहीं जा रही थी. So Raisa spoke to the airlines, and of course the airlines was ready to put me on any other flight free of cost because उनकी गलती थी. But all other flights that very day were having 9 to 10 hours layover, and I was not in a position to make a 9 to 10 hour layover in Delhi and Srinagar and stuff. Where would I go and how would I breathe? Because at the airport I would not have these oxygen cylinders. All of this is on rent. I can't just buy an oxygen cylinder and go to the airport with it. There are formalities that you're supposed to do for all of this. It takes 72 hours prior notice to the airport, to the airlines. You have to inform all of this that I'll be coming with one oxygen cylinder, and I had not done all that, and it was not just practical for me to do a layover. So Raisa told me the best option for me was to take the same flight which I had, but on 30th instead of 29th, and spend one more night in Leh. And when I told this to Madhura, her first response was like, we'll be gone to Kargil, Roshni, all of us will be traveling, then who will be there with you? And I was like, bro, I know this. You're not supposed to tell me what you are going to do. I know what you are going to do. That is the reason why I was also flying out on 29th. When y'all go to Kargil, I go to Bombay. But now that is not happening. So you give me a solution. You are supposed to be doing the problem solving. In that minute when she said that, I was like, you know what? Let's just go to Leh. Uske baad I will make the decisions. Because abhi tak I am feeling very powerless. I am very alone over here. I don't know anybody. But once I would have gone to Leh city, you remember that friend I made, Neo, on the second day? I had informed him about my complete situation when I was in the ICU. And he was like, you just come back, I will take care of everything. So I was like, I have him. I also have Diskit, which is Anish's friend. And I was like, I have contacts in Leh, which I don't have in Nubra Valley. So I was like, ये 4 घंटा बस मैं निकाल लूँ. Taking that ambulance, we went back to our guest house in Leh. That ambulance ride was also something altogether because it was a gypsy. So it was moving so much. And like I said, Ladakh roads are not forgiving. So it was quite a ride. And let me tell you, by that time, I had seen Ladakh from all ways possible. I had seen it on a bullet, in a tempo traveler, on a wheelchair, and even in an ambulance. And there was nothing else left to see only. Somehow, anyhow, we took like a continuous 4-hour trip. I told Madhura, ek bhi jagah rukna hai. When we reached the Leh guest house, she set me up and gave me oxygen cylinder and food, and she went back to join the group. So the group was coming from Pangong back to this Leh guest house. So on the way, she met them somewhere. So when I was in the ambulance, I had given this a lot of thought, and I had decided for myself that I will go out on 30th. I cannot fly out on 29th with the layover, so I will check myself into a hotel. So when I reached the guest house, and once Madhura was gone, I looked up the hotels, and I knew there's this one hotel, the Druk. मैंने पहले ही दिन उसको देख लिया था, मतलब हम टेम्पो ट्रैवलर में थे, and it looked really fancy and luxurious, and I was like, this is what I need right now, a really, really good hotel which will give me very good room service, because I'm not in a capacity to get up and take anything for myself. And I called the hotel and I let them know my complete situation, and I told them what is wrong with me, and I told them I just need two things from you. You give me an oxygen cylinder, I will of course pay for that, and you give me very good room service. Like, everything has to come to my room because I am not in a position to get up. And that hotel was so kind to me, so nice. Even the guest house people, I'm not gonna lie, they were very nice to me, but I cannot expect them to give me room service because that is not something we are paying them for. By evening, I had sorted everything out. Raisa put me on 30th flight out. I booked a hotel for the 29th to stay, and all my friends came back in the evening. So Roshni came back, and that just brought life back to me. Seeing Roshni made me so comfortable, and everything was booked. And Sahil came, Jayati came. These were two friends I made in the group. So we were all chilling, talking, and it was just so nice to have them back and feeling comforted with my company. And to pull me through the night, we needed another oxygen cylinder, so Madhura arranged for one more, which was 1500 liters. I was at least consuming 3 liters per minute of oxygen, तो 700 लीटर का सिलेंडर मेरे लिए कम पड़ रहा था, and 1500 लीटर का ऑक्सीजन हमने मंगाया ताकि I can pull through the night. वो रात भी पूरी रात रोशनी सोई नहीं है because continuously मेरा ऑक्सीजन चेंज करना पड़ रहा था, वो बंद पड़ रहा था, उसका ह्यूमिडिफायर we didn't know how to work it. Finally on 29th I checked out of the guest house and I went to the Juk, which is the hotel that I had checked myself into. Madhura had arranged transport, so Roshni and I went to the Juk, which is very close by. I took a hotel which is very close by from the guest house and the airport, so that all the transport can be very easily made. And at the Juk, they were amazing. I kid you not, that manager, Mr. Tashi, if you're going to Leh, I highly recommend the Juk. It was not even very expensive. In 5,000, I paid for breakfast, dinner, and my one night stay, and it was amazing. The treatment they gave me, they treated me so well. Mr. Tashi was so careful of me, and he arranged the cylinders I needed. He arranged a 2,500 liter cylinder for the night and a 700 liter for the day. I would literally have to call room service every 2 minutes because of the oxygen or the food or something. And the breakfast and dinner, which was included in my package, was actually supposed to be buffet. So I had to go and get up and take my food, but they made sure it comes to my room with a menu card and everything. All the staff were very kind to me, very nice with me, and super careful of me. Without any extra incentive or money whatsoever, they were doing all of this for me, and it was super heartwarming to know that so many strangers came to my help when nobody was there for me, right? Nobody. I was alone over there. Roshni, of course, checked me into the hotel, made sure everything I had at my beck and call, everything was around me on the bed also, made sure the management at the hotel knows that I should not be disturbed, and she properly set me up like a mother, and she left. Color was coming back to my skin. I was feeling better. Then in the afternoon, Neo visited me. I needed some cash, so I told him, please give me some cash. I transferred money to him, and he bought me an oximeter because I needed an oximeter on my airport and everything. I did not have one. And then in the night, Diskit came and visited me, and she bought me fruits, so she kept me company because the Wi-Fi was not working at the hotel. So that was a little bit of a bummer because बारिश हुई थी तो Wi-Fi नहीं चल रहा था उस दिन, तो मैं कुछ नहीं कर पाई थी. उधर बैठ के मैं वीडियोस एडिट कर रही थी होटल में बैठ के, because क्या ही करता है इंसान, दिमाग तो ऑक्यूपाई करना है. When I saw in the mirror and there was color back to my skin, I was feeling so good. I could reduce my oxygen intake to 2 to 1 liter per minute, so that was also improving and getting better. The saturations were getting better. I was feeling better. I was pacing my work. I finally took a bath after 4 days. I want to tell you, I took a bath and I ate different food because the hospital food was not good at all. So I finally got different food. It was refreshing, it was good. And next day morning, the hotel arranged a transport for me to take me to the airport. In the morning, I went to Leh airport. A wheelchair was arranged over there because I did not have an oxygen cylinder to connect myself to, so I could not do any walking. I was a little scared that how will I survive without oxygen cylinder. So far, I have only made it with external support. But Anush told me, don't do anything, don't talk to anyone, don't walk at all, just breathe and focus on your breathing, because without oxygen support it was 80, so I could have somehow managed with 80. There was a little discomfort, not gonna lie, at Leh airport, but I reached the flight. We somehow took off, and the minute I landed in Bombay, my oxygen saturation was 98. बॉम्बे की हवा चाहिए थी, you guys. बॉम्बे की हवा is everything. वो लगते के साथ मैं ठीक हो गई थी. Like I was like, बॉम्बे में मुझे wheelchair भी नहीं चाहिए, but they were already waiting for me. Mumbai airport is super equipped. Like as soon as I exited my aircraft, they were ready with the wheelchair. So I was like, अब आ ही गए हो तो लेके ही जाओ. तो wheelchair पे लेके आए. Then mom and dad were there at the airport, and I finally reached home safe, sound, healthy, alhamdulillah. And this was a story time of what happened with me in Ladakh. Now you know why it took me so long to actually sit down and tell you all this, because my recovery took time. I had to get back in this position to tell you what exactly happened. I'm not here to blame anyone. I know that what happened to my body was not anybody's fault, not mine, not the tour groups, but I want to at least emphasize this, that a lot could have been done better. The itinerary planning could have been done better. सबकी हालत टाइट थी. मैं इतनी बीमार पड़ी, जो मेरे साथ हुआ वो किसी और के साथ भी हो सकता था. There should not have been so much on one day, to the point that by the end everyone was exhausted. When Roshni reached Bombay also, she was so tired and she was feeling unwell, and she was like अपनी 7:30 खत्म ही नहीं हो रही है. Like that's how we have been feeling ever since we are back. Also, the mental, physical trauma of what happened was a lot. And not only was my experience as a trip spoiled, my experience with the company was also spoiled, because the way I was treated, I felt very helpless over there, and that should not have been done. There could have been better decisions, which is why I did not leave the link to Mad Ventures in any of the description boxes. A lot of y'all have been asking me kiske saath gaye the, we also want to go, we also want to plan something. The only reason is because if I don't recommend something, then I am not going to leave a link in the description box. और अगर कोई चीज मैं तुमको नहीं दे रही हूँ, then there's a reason for it, because जो मेरे साथ हुआ, किसी और के साथ अगर हुआ कल को कोई और ग्रुप में, so I don't want to feel like, I should have taken the name of the company and been a more responsible person. This is something that my friend pointed out to me yesterday when I told her that I have recorded the story time, but I've not taken the name of the company. She was like, see, if you had a good experience, you would have gone out of your way to promote the company. And of course I would have. This was not a sponsored trip, and I would have still gone out of my way to promote it, leave links. I did talk about it, and I did take the name when good was happening. Then why shouldn't I take the name when the bad experience happened as well? So this was just something I want you all to learn, that please, even if you're going tour group के भरोसे, अपनी खुद की research करो. मेरे जैसे मत बनो. मैं वो उनके भरोसे मैं चली गई, मैंने अपनी research नहीं की कि acclimatization should have been there in the itinerary. I should have gone with a much more spaced out itinerary, and best I should have gone alone. Honestly, if I would have gone alone or with a friend, खुद से plan करके हम काफी आराम से जाते. So the one tip I have for you in Leh Ladakh or any high altitude place is take it easy. No matter if you've gone for 10,000 times, but every single time your body is getting adapted to the entire altitude, oxygen saturation. उधर की हवा बहुत पतली है, इतना easy नहीं होता है breathe करने के लिए. Like Mumbai जैसी जगह में the air itself pushes into the lungs, but somewhere like Ladakh, air pressure is also less, so it does not go into your lungs willingly. Your lungs have to do the work. So that is the reason why take it easy, pace it out, and very important, go with people you trust, love, with a SIM card, so that you are never in a position that I was. And the most important thing of everything, the most important lesson you get from this video is be a good human. Have humanity. Don't be like the people I was on the tour group with. Empathize with people. Understand when a person is unwell. Health is not something we have in our hands. Be a kind human. If not anything else, be generous, because your karma will always come back to you. I'm a strong believer of that, and I'm a live example of that, because my karma was good. My karma has always been good. I have never wished ill for someone. I have never wished badly for someone or done badly for someone. I got help in a place where no one could get help, okay? Like I was in a city wherein there was no network, no friends, no family, no contacts, but I could still manage to have people come help me out, and these are the people because of which I'm alive today. You saw what a big role every single stranger had to play with my health, and everything just fell in place eventually. I could have died, you guys. Very potentially, I could have died. A lot of people told me that you're lucky that you survived and you came back alive, because they know people who've died because of pulmonary edema at altitudes, and this happens. I have strongly to believe that my God supported me because my karma is good. And this is my story time all complete. We'll close the chapter on this book and never speak of the Ladakh adventures again. Inshallah, one day we will go back, do much better, and see Pangong, which is still one of my dream locations. I hope you guys finally got the answers you all were looking for. But until then, I will see you in my next video. For today's video, the Sarah Squad shout out goes to all of my Sarah Squad. You all are the reason I had a ray of hope. I'm very grateful to y'all as well, and very indebted to y'all. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys. Mwah.